Hey, morning everyone. It's been an interesting video today, hopefully for a few of you. So I've got to get the Daytona on top of the lift so I can do some bits and pieces underneath it, just some small jobs. So it's come to that time where I've got to move everything around. So today I'm going to get the RX-7 out, get the Daytona out, get the Cobra down and out, and then put the Cobra over here, put the Daytona on top, and then put the RX-7 back underneath. So that's the easiest one, just to take in and out when I want to do work on what will be the Daytona. So I'm going to get everything uncovered, pretty dusty as well, so I might give them a bit of a brush off, and then get things moved out, and it'll be an empty garage for a couple of minutes. So yeah, I think what I'll probably do is give you all a bit of a once over of the cars, because I haven't really mentioned the Cobra at all on the channel, and the RX-7 is only had a bit of work done on it, but not really much of a walk around. So probably I'll do that. So at the moment, let's get them uncovered. Right, so I've just checked the oil, the coolant, and actually the brake fluid this time. I checked the brake fluid purely because I did work on the brakes, had them all refurbed, as you've seen in probably the other videos, and it's been sat for a while, so just making sure it hasn't leaked anywhere. I do check underneath the cars relatively regularly, and obviously the Cobra I can see really easily, and there's been no leaks and drips. But of course, when I drive it out, I'll just check on the carpet tiles, make sure nothing's soaked in there. So yeah, that one's ready to go. I'm just going to open the doors and I'll get that one moved out. Right, now the RX-7's out, you can probably hear it bumbling away outside. I'm going to bring the lift down and I'll uncover the Cobra and get that ready to fire up to move out, and then it's a Daytona next. Easy as that, such an easy lift to use. Now I'm going to uncover that because it's really dusty, and then we will get it fired up. I figured we'd have a quick look at the car. I've just uncovered half of it. That dust cover's done a pretty good job, but she's still dusty. Eagle-eye viewers might notice I've actually got socks on the side pipes. I just cut the tips of the socks off, so it obviously doesn't impede the flow. But I found that when I was in here and I didn't use it for a while, and I fired it up, there'd be a bit of sort of moisture, carbon city moisture, which would splash all over the floor, especially that side. It'd splash actually on the wall. So yeah, these socks does look a bit ridiculous, but it stops it. It catches pretty much all the moisture while still allowing it to run. So yeah, you know, it just needs must. So yeah, there's the inside. We'll probably uncover it later and get a bit of dust off, but just for the sake of me getting in and moving it out. So I've just checked the fluids, we're all good down there. Oil's just over half up the stick. I think it was changed, well, when did I change it? Maybe a year and a half ago. but it's probably done 300 miles. So yeah, I'll put the camera back up again and I'll fire this thing up. Takes a little while to get it settled on the choke before I can just back it off, but then we'll move it outside. Now, that's the Cobra out. That was a bit smoky and a bit hard to start. I think where it's been sat for ages, maybe some of the fuel dried up in the carb or some of the oil, I don't know. But yeah, it's pretty smoky when it fired up, but now it's fun. It's fine. It's running outside. I'll just leave it out there to get up to temperature. And now I'll move the camera so you can see the Daytona, and I'll fire this up and drive it out. Giving things a bit of a sweep because we're pretty dusty in here. I've done a bit of woodwork recently, and then we'll get things back in. Cobra will be first one back in this space. Yeah, I'll put it back together again. So Daytona, Cobra, RX-7 back in. Now it's a tidy up. I'll let the fumes go out of the garage because it stinks in here. I'll probably take the covers home, give them a wash because they're really dusty. Put things back on charge, close it down, and that's my work for the day. Actually, do you know what? I'll probably have a quick walk over the Cobra, point out the bits and pieces that I'm going to do to it now it's here, and I'll probably have a quick chat about what I'm doing with the Daytona, which is why I put it up there. Right, so give a few minutes to the Cobra because it's not really featured so far on this channel. If people are actually interested and want to know more about it, then I'll do a bigger video when it's clean, and I'll take it out, go for a drive, put some cameras on it, and talk about it more. And any questions, obviously, just ask, and I'll answer them best of my knowledge. I didn't build this. This is the one thing. I bought it back in 2017, I think it was, from a guy who'd built it. So builder, sold it, and then it was mine. I think it had 4,000 miles, just over 4,000 miles when I got it. I think it's now got just over 6. So it's an AK, I think it's a 2006 was when he started building it. So it was like a 10-year project for him. It's the same wheels as the Daytona, but it's a 17-inch with the fake knockoffs. It's a Jag running gear. It's a 350 Chevy. Let's open this. It's dusty, so don't critique me on the cleanliness. So yeah, it's a 350 Chevy in there. The only things I've done since I've owned it was I had an automatic, a power steering rack put in. So you can see the power steering pump there. And yeah, you can't really see the rack, it's right down over there. I got that from AK. Obviously involved a different pulley, and yeah, it was just where I drive it around, it was just too much of a handful to actually park it places. So big old wheels in it forever, just dragging it around. So it's a little bit of getting used to when the first time you drive it, or the first few times you drive it with some speed, having got much lighter steering. But yeah, it makes it more of a usable car without having to be such a big event. Yeah, otherwise pretty simple under there, to be honest. And there was an earth fault on it when I had it, and it used to sporadically it killed me. It used to sporadically just cut out. It could be any revs, any speed, could be anywhere. Sometimes it just wouldn't start. And I wiggled a few things around, and I was under here taking everything out. I think I was taking out the coil to replace it, and then there was one of the wires off of it. I think it was going into this ballast resistor. I think that's what it is. The heat shrink just parted. So it was only the glue in the heat shrink or the connector that was holding the wire in. So the actual wire had broken through vibration or bad crimping originally. Who knows? When I found that, it was a massive eureka moment. I was like, oh, brilliant. Stripped it back, redid it, and I've never had a single issue from this since. So yeah, really was plaguing me for a few months. Then I really sort of noticed it, and it made it unreliable in the sense that I didn't really want to take it out places because you couldn't guarantee it wasn't going to sit there not starting or just cut out randomly. And obviously, when you've got a car like this and people look at you, you don't want to be that guy that's unable to start his car. Otherwise, what have we got? So the inside is that. This is as it came. I've not touched anything. The RPM, that gauge, you see it's slightly different. When I got it from Total Head Turners, which is where I bought it from, that one used to bounce all over the place, and they said, they had a look at it, and then it still did it for a few months. So I got back in touch. They said, right, no worries, we'll send you a new gauge. So they did, fitted it, but the quality of, either if it is a genuine Smiths, the quality is nowhere near what the other gauges are. Like, it just looks like it's been made on a printer, but whether that's just a different generation of gauges, because the other ones are a lot older, if they're all the same, they'd probably all match. But it's not horrific, but it is noticeable when you're sitting in there. What else in there? Otherwise, it's all good. I'm not undoing the other side now because you know what it looks like. It's just a seat. I've got a rubber mat in there which always moves up to the front, which is really irritating. But I should just get some floor mats actually made. I haven't got around to it. I don't drive it enough to remember. What else should we talk about? The boot. I showed you in the boot earlier. It's got. So it's back up on charge now. So it's got the proper number plates in there because these ones are quite small. Well, the ones on the front's quite small. Yeah, it's got the roof and the side windows. I've literally never even fitted these. The roof was new. No, sorry, the roof has existed when I bought it, but the tonneau didn't exist. So I had that fitted, condition of buying it. Yeah, one thing I'm going to change relatively shortly, now I've got some time and it's down on the floor, is this horrible box that falls over all the time, and it covers where the fuel comes in, and there's a 90-degree stainless fitting, and then it goes down to the tank. I have no idea why it's been done that way. I'm going to change for a flexi pipe, come all the way through, same ball, all the way down into the tank, and then do away with having to have this huge, horrible box. It's all MDF, and I might actually be able to There we go, look at that. It's horrible the way it's been made, look at that. It's just, talk about using oversized rivets. So yeah, no offense to the guy who built it, but hey ho, it's not very nice. So yeah, I don't understand why there's flexi hose from in the arch to this and then 90 degrees. It's a pain to fill up as well, because this bit kind of backlogs and bubbles and fills, and you've really got to watch down inside. So I figured a straight piece of pipe that will come down a nice shallow angle will be easier, and also less terminations, means less chance of any leaks and fumes. So yeah, that's the job I'm going to do. It's been on my list actually for a couple of years, but actually getting around to doing it would be nice. Otherwise, there is a button in the boot. Oh, where's the button? Down here. So when it's on, he has all these little blue LEDs all the way around the boot. So it does illuminate. I think you actually have to have the main headlights on and then you can press the button, which is, no, it's not the nicest of finishes in here, but yeah, it's a boot. But the blue lights make it look a little bit Vauxhall Nova-esque. So I don't really, well, I've never used them. Otherwise, it's relatively simple. My socks are on the exhaust, I explained that earlier. Yeah, so if anyone's interested, I'll put some cameras, maybe put a camera on the old roll bar. I've got the clamp and then go out for a drive of it, as long as no one's going to critique my driving, but I'm sure you will. And yeah, we'll go out for a blast. I love the noise, and it's great to have the wind in your hair. So let's call that quits for the Cobra for now. The RX-7, you've seen a lot of that in the previous videos on the channel. If you're more interested in it, then by all means, just go and have a look at them. I haven't done any driving or sort of living with the car, although it was reviewed by Jamie, is it Jamie FYD on YouTube years ago. He did a review on it, which was done quite well. So if people are interested, then by all means, I probably will anyway. I'll put some cameras on it and just have a bit of a drive. So yeah, standard. Right, so the Daytona is up here because, in fact, actually, I'm going to just push this forward and I'll get underneath and show you what I mean. Right, so this is, well, I'm underneath the Daytona, as you can clearly see. Probably the best view you guys have actually had, or the best view I've had of it for quite some time. That's why it's up on the lift, because I can actually get to underneath of it, work on it without it being a pain in the arse and having to jack it up and climb around when it's on axle stands. So there are two main reasons why I've decided to put it up on the lift and get these jobs done that have been on my list for a while. One of them is the thermostat cover up there somewhere. I took it off when I had all the issues with the coolant system, which turned out to be just a rad cap that I'd got. The spring was passing and it was a shite cap basically, even though it was sold as not a shite cap. So yeah, in the process of finding that out, I took everything to bits, checked the thermostat was working at the right temperatures. When I put it back together again, I clearly have not sealed it 100%. So at temperature, there is a slight weep, which weeps down, pulls on the block a bit, and then you get lots of red residue where the coolant's evaporated off, and obviously no one wants a slight coolant leak. There's a little splash of it around there. So that's one thing. So it's, drain the coolant and do that again. Yeah, is what it is. And then the sump. So the sump needs to be taken off, because when I put it back on after I had this fitting there for the oil temperature welded on, and obviously by welding it, it destroyed the zinc coating that came on the sump in that region. So I thought, right, okay, let's key it up and let's put some almost like a bed liner protective coating on it, matte black. Yeah, it looks cool. But where I've put the sealant around, and I did this when the car was on the floor, so it was a right pain to get underneath and put it back on. So what I've done is I've made a hash up of putting on the liquid gasket in a couple of spots. I think this is some of the coolant where I was talking about that's just splashed on it. Come down the block. Anyway, so it's more around the rear area. It looks bad from here, but there's only one or two weeps up there, and it just as it hits this flat right reservoir, it runs over in a couple of areas and at the back there. So I will drop the oil out, which is done, half a mile, and yeah, clean it all up again. I'm not sure whether I should reuse the cork gasket which is on it, which I left in there and sealed either side of it, or should I just, because it's a nice machined engine and the sump's new, it's going to fit nice, should I just ignore that and just put a nice coating of liquid gasket? So any comments will be appreciated. So yeah, that's the main jobs underneath. Another one which gets me, and I've meant to ask any of you guys who watch, if you want to comment, if you had an experience with your windscreen washer reservoir, like pump the motor in the windscreen washer reservoir, just slightly spinning up, like, you know, we're talking like half second, not even that long, when you turn the main power on. So when I turn my main breaker on, it just pulses. So a small amount just weeps out of the actual nozzle. It doesn't squirt up the windscreen, it's not, but it does just come out, and then it runs down in between the bonnet and the windscreen, and just drips down through the engine bay. So it's probably a half a teaspoonful of water, but every time you turn it on and off, it does that. So I was wondering if anyone had any ideas why it might do that, if there's any quick fixes, you know, if there's some kind of resistor to put in the wiring or something. So yeah, it's just seeing as I'm underneath and I remembered, I thought I'd ask you all. And yeah, everything else you can see, obviously the floor pans there. You can see these are the rear bolts that hold the seat down. They have to protrude annoyingly because of the line of the fixings. It would be nice if it was all up underneath here, but I have got some, and also I have to have a certain amount of thread out for the IVA for the locking nuts. So yeah, I've got some rubber, not gasket, what I'm saying, I don't know, some rubber grommets, there we go, which will go over these, and they bulge a lot, but they do actually cover it. So, and this side. And yeah, glico pins all holding it together still. So that is one of the reasons why when I'm driving it around now, or driving out and around the gravel just to move it, it squeaks and rattles a lot because everything's just held with glico pins. So there's a lot of movement. And speaking of movement, while I'm here, I'll tell you the exhaust. Obviously, when I knocked the exhaust up, because there was no, as you know, there is no plan or drawing for this car. I've made a bracket at the back there. I have two studs welded onto the back of the exhaust, and there's a stainless bracket they go through, so each one is removable individually. Where this rod or this plate goes up into the car, and it's then bolted onto a rubber grommet, so it takes a lot of vibration out. The hole in the fiberglass I've cut in there, just well, you can see where the stainless passes into the blue. That's pretty tight in the position that it actually needs to be in now, so it squeaks as it vibrates when the car's just running. You know, obviously everything's going to vibrate slightly, and that's an irritating sound. Does it both sides. Not the end of the world. It just means I'll drop the exhaust back down again, and I'll get in with a fine tool or something, and I'll just open it up a bit. There's no reason to have it a nice tight fitting. It was just that it was such a trial and error, lots of trial and lots of error actually on my part, putting this thing together originally, that yeah, it wasn't opened up big enough, not knowing that it would squeak a lot. What else are we going to talk about? What else? I think that's pretty much it. Another major one, I think, for the IVA is the steering boot does actually touch this. I mean, there's no physical contact with the mechanism that moves. It's just a rubber boot touches this lower bracket here. And I'm pretty sure that that's going to be a pain, because they're probably going to hate that, the IVA. Well, I know they will. That one doesn't quite, so you've got a mils clearance there. So not sure, I might end up just having to take this back plate off of the mount, see if I can win that. Was it 2 mil maybe? That might be enough, we're not sure. So there's lots of little bits and pieces I've got to mess around with, because, well, because the way the kit was, and I say kit, there's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek joke there. Lots to fiddle with. So hey ho, I will stop this video now, I think, push the RX-7 back underneath, and call it quits for the day, and then I'll start again. When I drop the sump off, I'll do another video. Yeah, all right, have a great one.